Hi there, I'm Buddha and you're watching Dr. Guitar, a show for all you guitarists out there. Today's episode is about EQing with a microphone. And the microphone placement in your guitar speaker is as important as the EQ you put on the amp. For today's episode, I used SM57, the standard of standards, and I also used the Sennheiser E906, which is another of the great standards, but not as standard as the SM57. I recorded a loop with the Ditto looper, the TC Electronics Ditto looper, of me playing a riff through the Fulltone Ultimate Octave and with a little slapback. And I'm playing it through the Bassman, the 100-watt Bassman head, and the 4x12 speaker cabinet Bassman also. I use that cabinet first because it sounds really good, but especially because I can take the grill cloth off and you can really see where the microphone is in relation to the speaker. It's really very important to know how to place your mic to get the sound you want, not the sound that the front engineer wants. The first episode of the first Dr. Guitar episode was about owning your mic, having your own mic to mic guitars, and how important is that for your tone to get to the front of house, to get to the audience, because especially if you play in a big venue, all or almost all your audience will hear is the PA, is the microphone hearing your guitar cabinet. So which microphone you choose, it's very important. But if you don't have your microphone, or if you have an SM57, which is not my favorite mic at all, but it does the job. But if you don't own the microphone and you go to a gig and then the PA guys put the mic in front of your amp, take a little time and tweak it. If the guy says, can you please give me a little brightness on the guitar? You just move it closer to the center of the cone. Or if the guy says, it's too bright, can you cut the brightness on your amp? You move it outside of the speaker to the edge of the speaker. Then you have the off-axis, on-axis microphone techniques, all of that shit. But the most important thing is that the mic can really change your tone, and using different mics will affect your tone differently. It took me a lot of time to know how to get good guitar sound out of this mic. I bought it because I've seen a lot of people using it, and I love the guitar sound that they took off this mic. But the first time I put it on my amp, I was like, oh shit, this sounds really bad. What's wrong? It sounded like out of phase or really strange. So I experiment a lot with moving the mic towards and in and out of the amp, and I found out that it really sounds the best to me if it is on the edge, on where the dust cap meets the cone and 2 fingers off the grill. If you put it really close to the grill, it doesn't sound good to me. It sounds really strange, out of phase with no mids. It sounds really strange. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, and the mids are really strange. But I now love this mic, and I know how to work with it. Although, if you have been watching the show, my favorite guitar mic is the Beyerdynamic M160, because you can put it almost wherever you choose, and it sounds great all the time. So I will show you some the same riff it is always the same riff through the Bassman 100 head, and the Bassman 412 cabinet, and I will show you the same riff played with a looper, so it's exactly the same riff. And then I will move the microphone, physically move it while the riff is playing, so you can hear the EQ changes. It seems like a wah-wah is being, you will hear a lot of and I haven't used a compressor for this, so you can really hear the difference. And you also hear a lot of volume difference, because if you're really close to the speaker and really close to the center, it will sound a lot louder than if you put it instead of pointing it like this, if you point it off axis like this. And the same thing with the Sennheiser, with the E906. I did the same thing. And then I will show you a fixed position, 4 different positions for each mic. And I will show you one example where I haven't touched the gain, and then a second example where I matched all the gains, so you won't be fooled by the difference in volume. So using this speaker as an example, this is a really small speaker, but you can see here the dust cap, which is the opposite as in a guitar speaker, but it is the dust cap here, and then you have the speaker here. If you're using an SM57 straight in the center of the speaker, you will have a really bright sound. But then again, if you take it closer to the edge of the speaker, you'll have a more bassier, more mid-rangey tone and warmer tone. Since the SM57 is a really dark, really bright and hard mic, so we'll get a lot of transient. I usually prefer to use it either on the edge of the speaker or the most where the dust cap meets the cone, so around this circle here, and I'll use it here. And that's almost always where I use it. As for the E906, I usually place it 2 fingers away from the speaker and where the dust cap meets the cone. That's absolutely the only position I like this mic. 2 fingers away, so you can get a better bass response, and facing the mic. So there goes the usual use for this mic, which is hanging it down in the speaker. It doesn't work for me. I'm even thinking about getting the clamp of the mic on the opposite, so I can make it farther from the speaker, and that way I can use the cable hanging. Otherwise I need to use a tripod and a mic stand and use it like this. But it's really different if you mic your speaker cabinet from this way, or if you mic it like this, or like this, or like this. Because if your cabinet is close to the floor, if you mic it like this, you will get all the reflections from the floor. If you mic it like this, you will get no reflections. But you can get drums if you're in a live situation. If some guys tend to mic it parallel to the speaker surface, because this is not a surface like this. This is kind of like this. So some guys tend to mic it this way, so it can be parallel. I usually prefer it dead on, instead of being on the center, close to the where the dust cap meets the cone. If I'm using 2 microphones, as for example a ribbon and the SM57, I like to use the SM57 straight on the center, because the ribbon usually is a dark mic, and I will probably need the brightness from the SM57, but it will not be my only mic. Since I hate treble in my guitar, I usually go and put it like here, or even here. Well, that's it. I hope you have liked it. I hope this has been helpful to you. As always, please subscribe, leave your comments below, and share it with the world. We're growing our community, and it's been a really great journey being here with you. Thanks a lot, and see you next week.